Great, we'll get started. So hello everyone and welcome. My name is Karl Kohlmann. I'm a practice management consultant here at Clio. Over the last few years, I've been lucky enough to work with hundreds of legal business owners, practice managers, to help them solve their case management needs, as well as advising them on cloud migrations. I'm very passionate about educating lawyers on using technology to improve their lives, their practices, and ultimately the lives of the clients they serve. So I'm delighted to be bringing you today's Customer Spotlight, Life as a Boutique Law Firm Office Manager. The day of a law firm office manager is a busy one. In addition to making sure that the day-to-day things run smoothly, I guess you're also expected to be the face of the firm and the person making sure both staff and clients are happy and well taken care of. No one knows this more than our guest for today, Shirlee Gardiner. So just to give you a brief bio about Shirlee, Shirlee is a highly capable and experienced legal secretary. In addition to her wealth of knowledge of US and UK corporate law firms, she's adept in managing complex diary, travel, documents, etc. for firms. Shirlee has been with Farha Legal Ltd for 4 years now, exclusively working from home, before the others like myself were doing similar. She has a keen eye for identifying and initiating efficiency-driven solutions that ensure she and her firm can provide exceptional support to highly demanding international commercial clients. Before I get into it with Shirlee, I want to cover off a few things. So Farha Legal Ltd do use Clio for their case management system, but for the purpose of today's demonstration, we'll talk a little bit about that, but it won't be a huge detail about Clio, the product. I would love if anyone on the call is up for it. If you're interested, we would love to schedule a demonstration with you. So I'm going to ask my colleague Geraldine just to launch a quick poll. I'll leave that. She'll be up on your screen now. And if you are interested, let us know and we'll be happy to reach out and discuss and set up a personalized demo. Whilst I leave the poll running, I just wanted to run through a couple of housekeeping items. So today's session will be 30 minutes. We do want lots of Q&A, so please use the chat. And the session is being recorded, so we will send it out later this week to everyone here. And as well, if you're joining us from the recording rather than live, welcome to you as well. Please use the chat function to chat with your fellow attendees and the Q&A function to ask questions that you would like the moderator to ask, and we'll bubble them up to both myself or Shirlee. Let's leave that poll run. So you can see I've got about 62% of people have voted. Great, Geraldine, should we leave it up maybe just another 20 seconds or so? I'll count down. Okay, Geraldine, we've had over 71% of votes there. I think that's okay if you're happy. End the poll. Great. Thank you everyone for following it out. So without further ado, thank you for joining us today, Shirlee. You are the practice manager and the lifeblood of Farha Legal Ltd. I have a lot of questions for you. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Karl, and thank you so much for inviting me today. It really is a privilege and a pleasure to be here. So please fire away. Just hope I can answer everything for you all.
Thank you for joining us. So I kind of commented there in the bio, and I even from my own experience working at Clio, I speak to busy practice managers all the time. I mean, what does a typical day look like for you?
Oh gosh, it can range from anything from onboarding new staff, onboarding new clients, training, invoicing, dealing with suppliers. To be honest, the list's endless. I do quite a lot of things. I wear lots of different hats, but I love it because it's varied and no 2 days are ever the same.
Nice. I like that. There's no way to pigeonhole it into one or two things.
No.
You have to be flexible.
Yeah.
And I know when we were speaking to you, you obviously have a seasoned career in the legal industry. I believe you've worked in the legal industry for around 40 years now. I mean, what have been like, how have you seen your role evolve and change over the last 40 years?
Well, I started off as a legal secretary. Oh gosh, a very, very long time ago. And after doing all my secretarial training and typist training at the Bank of England. And when I first started in the legal profession, I worked for a law firm. You would only ever work for, say, one partner maybe an assistant and maybe a trainee, because everything was paper based. Everything had to be typed from scratch. There was no word processors, computers. There were no mobile phones. So there were a lot of message taking, and things were, sometimes it was a little bit dull and a little bit mundane. We all had to, life was serious. We had to dress in a certain way. We had to behave in a certain way. And I'm actually pleased to say that over time, office life's evolved, and now it's a little bit more fun. It's still very serious, but the technology enables us to do a lot more quickly, which means that I now can look after lots of different people, and I can do a lot more with my time because the technology enables me to do that. So yeah, huge changes. I never thought I'd be able to work from home. Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? It's just amazing that I can work from home and do everything I used to do and not have to commute anymore. It's quite phenomenal.
It is. And I think it's as we were talking even before the call, like you're supporting both international clients as well as even
Yeah,
international staff members as well, which is,
yeah,
one of the side kind of positives in some ways of the last year or so. But
yeah.
I think it's very interesting what you say there. And I think, I guess it would depend on different types of firms and practice areas, but I know it can be quite intimidating to engage with legal services and law firms. So to bring that very much human element towards it must be so pleasing for your clients.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I deal with the clients a lot, and quite often they contact me direct to do things for them, which is lovely to feel that they trust me and that we get on really well. But the more sort of serious stuff with all the, amending up all the documents and the drafting, that basically stays with the lawyers to do.
Sure. And on that, I mean, you're very happy working at Farha Legal Ltd. I mean, what type of law firm is it? What
Um,
makes it the place for you?
Basically, we do mainly corporate work, so I think that's probably about 80%. And then we also do tax, employment and IP, which probably is about the remaining 20%. And we tend to look after a lot of startup companies from incorporation to exit. So the place for me, it's such a nice place to work because there's such a great bunch of people. Everybody's lovely in different ways. Do people sometimes have the odd moment? Of course they do. We all do. That's human. But everyone is lovely, and it's nothing personal. It's just they're having a bit of a day. And although I am really support staff, I'm not a legal staff. I'm actually treated as an equal. And that to me means the world, because I've never worked in a firm before where I've been treated as an equal. And
Wow.
that really is a blessing. Seriously, it's a joy to work with them. They are just lovely.
That says a lot about the
Yeah,
type of firm it is, and it complements your point as well of how, compared to earlier on in your career, what the working culture was like to now. So
yeah,
that's amazing. And delighted that obviously we've been connected through Clio to learn more about Farah.
yeah. It's
Just
just
a
lovely.
quick question, actually, for one of our audience members, if you don't mind me asking.
Yes,
And I'll jump back to Michael.
certainly.
So Loretta, thank you for the question. Well, there's actually kind of two questions from Loretta. Curious for your take, Shirley. So, like, how have you found dealing with motivating staff, especially in the remote environment, working from home where you're not side by side?
We have. It hasn't been as difficult as I thought it would be, to be fair, but we use something called Microsoft Office, which gives us Microsoft Teams. So we're able to have a Teams meet. We have a weekly team meeting. We message each other a lot on Teams, which is basically like work text messages or work
Yeah.
WhatsApp. So I try to keep in contact with everybody that way and just drop them a line every so often, just to say, just checking in that you're okay. Is there anything I can do to help? Please feel free to reach out if there's anything else I can do that I'm not already doing. And that works really well. And we can also, with Teams, we can share our screens. So
Yeah.
if there is something you're working on, you're not sure of, you can do a script, share your screen, and someone can say, oh yeah, this. Again, it saves a lot of time.
I
So
think
it's been great. Yeah.
it sounds like communication is key to that, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
just open lines of communication. Everyone knows where to find people if they need help with anything, and vice versa. You've kind of set those standards and that culture to be open with
Yeah.
each other as well, which is great. I guess on the flip side of that, which of course is a harsh reality of every business owner, just kind of a follow-on question from Loretta. I mean, how would you or Farah Legal deal with sort of any disciplinary or grievances while working from home? And how do you keep those to a minimum?
To be honest, I can't foresee us having any of that, because things are dealt with quickly. If somebody's not happy, they either speak to myself or James, and then that is dealt with that way. As to date, we haven't had any disciplinary instances in any way, shape or form. So I guess my response to Loretta is, really, when that happens, I guess then we're going to have to see how best we can deal with that. I mean, I do go online, and I also participate in quite a lot of other webinars to see what
Yeah,
I can pick up. And I do one with an employment law firm, and I found that really invaluable, because I've picked up so many little bits and pieces of
brilliant.
life pre-COVID and life after COVID. So that's been very beneficial to me.
That's brilliant, and thank you. That makes sense, and I do love, from getting to know you over the last few months, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, how committed you are to kind of self-improvement and keep learning all the new
Yeah.
methods. Not so much a Q&A, but an interesting comment there from Ruth. I've enjoyed working from home the past 15 months. I'm struggling to convince partners that I can continue to manage an office when I'm not there all the time, especially in a small boutique office with low numbers of support staff. Well, Ruth, maybe we should have a follow-up chat with Shirlee and our managing partner James or after, so you can help speak to the powers that be.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. Anywhere I can help, I'm happy to help in any way I can, seriously.
I think I've gotten to know you quite well over the last couple of months, Shirley, and it's no surprise to me that Farha Legal's clients have described you as the heartbeat and the lifeblood of the firm.
Oh, it's kind. They're just really kind, aren't they?
Yeah. To switch focus slightly, you kind of talked about it at the first question, wearing many different hats, liaising with customers, suppliers, etc., etc.
Yes.
I suppose you kind of answered it there, but like, is there any sort of one key thing you'd advise us for doing that without being in the office? I suppose it is similar to what you're saying with the technology and communication, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say technology and communication has been has been absolutely. I wouldn't be able to do what I currently do without it. But I also think to be organised. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I have a lot of stuff come in each day. So basically, I will organise stuff that the super urgent has to be done, and so on and so forth. And I find I then have this little sort of tick list for myself. So I tick things off as I'm doing it, so things don't slip through the net. So it's sort of a mixture of quite a few different things, to be fair.
Interesting for sure. And on one of our calls a few weeks back, you said something, Shirley, that really stuck with me. I think it was kind of a classic quote. I mean, every day is a school day. Can you tell us a little more about your approach and your mindset on the subject of change and change management? How do you bring your team along on the changes with processes?
Well, basically, with processes, we kind of we do sort of discuss things amongst ourselves, which is great. James sometimes will talk to me. Sometimes I will suggest things to James, and then if we think that's good, we do get feedback and input from the team. As far as I'm concerned, for change, I always embrace change with an open mind. Sometimes it is for good, sometimes it's not. But sometimes if you don't give it a go, you're never going to find out. And sometimes by trying something new, if it doesn't work, well, then your mind starts thinking, well, that doesn't work. How can we change that to fit us? Or to fit what we're trying to do. So it's quite a mixture of things. I also, as you know, I'm a lover of the Clio webinars, but I also participate in lots of other webinars where I'm a member of the audience, and sometimes other firms are doing things which are really good, and I think, well, that could work for us. Can we give that a go? Could that help improve our processes and procedures? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But again, if that's going to help us to be more efficient and more effective, surely it's got to be worth a go. It's got to be worth a go. What have you got to lose? A little bit of time. But so they're the sort of things we do, to be fair.
I think it's amazing you say that, and I can certainly comment from my own role at Clio. Like, I appreciate changing systems, especially from kind of old ways of working to new ways. It's quite intimidating for everyone on the call, whether you're a managing partner, a practice manager, support staff. It's like anything. It's a new way of working, but embracing it with an open mind is very exciting.
Yeah.
But there is I think that famous saying, comfort and growth do not coexist. So get a little bit out of your comfort zone, you'll see the benefits.
Yeah.
Even today on this webinar. Huh?
Yeah. And I also think enthusiasm. if you embrace it and you're enthusiastic, most of the time I find my enthusiasm for things is quite infectious. So if I say to somebody, oh, look, this is really great, they tend to think, oh, well, if Shirley thinks it's great, it must be great. And sometimes that really helps, you know, and one thing and another. So just be really positive and enthusiastic, and most of the stuff will follow on for you.
Nice. And kind of similar to that original point, I mean, how involved are you in the decisions around firm processes and procedures at Farha?
I'm quite involved with James. James is our managing partner. So when we're looking at, say, like new software applications and one thing or another, I'm normally involved at the ground stage when I go on the calls, and you know, then I'll have a play around with it to see if it works. I mean, we recently had something. It's a Thomson Reuters product called HiQ. And to be honest, that's absolutely amazing. We can offer data rooms now to our clients. We also can do all of our forms on there. So I set up templates and everything. God, it just saves so much time when you can do everything yourself in-house. So yeah, I'm very lucky to be involved in things like that with James, because I get to try out lots of new toys,
I love
which
it.
is
I love it.
which is great, you know.
And I know Farha has a kind of it's becoming more popular these days of a type of a business model, but like how big is the firm? How many lawyers and support staff are there?
I think when I initially started with James, there was myself and James and one other lawyer, but I think there's 13 of us now.
Oh,
So
nice.
I think we've got 2 partners, 6 or 7. You know, sometimes it's hard to keep track. I think we've got 6 or 7 lawyers. We've got a finance manager, a head of innovation, head of company secretary, and then of course there's me. So I think there's about 13 of us. Yeah.
Nice. That's amazing. And just
Yeah.
something to pick up on, I've noticed you say it a few times in this demo, which I think is or this webinar, should I say, is the ultimate compliment to James. I've sort of mentioned Farha Legal, and instead of saying you do things for Farha, you do things for James. And I think that
Yeah.
just shows the ultimate compliment of leadership. And, you know, we see the same too. And I would tell people as well, don't necessarily pick a company, pick a leader, someone that you want to work with and learn from and grow with. So really exciting to see that you found Farha and James at this point in your career.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't believe how blessed I am. He is a joy. He is a lovely man. He's super clever, and you know, I can't believe, I just can't believe how lucky I am, to be honest. And it's a pleasure coming to work every day, or walking down to my office at home, should I say?
Love it, love it. So I'm just going to pivot slightly back into a couple of Q&A there from our audience again. So right again, any tips for driving the company forward?
I know James is looking at us growing in the future, and I'll help him in any way that I can. When we do grow, I onboard the people and do the training and everything. So, and I really like that, to be honest. It's really nice to do that, to get to know somebody who you've just met and one thing or another. But I know he's got lots of plans up his sleeve, but I don't think this is probably the right place to mention those.
Of course, that's fair. And Loretta, again, really interesting point there, and I absolutely agree with Loretta too. I mean, that is amazing growth from starting a few years ago with just yourself, James, and one other person to 13 now, and growing. How did you get there from 3 to at least 13 now plus? Because Loretta's firm is looking to grow as well.
I think, to be honest, it's mainly down to James doing a great job, and our existing clients coming back to us, and then the existing clients recommending us to new clients. And because we've now got a lot more clients, we've needed more lawyers to do the work for all the clients. So mainly, to be fair, it's down to James.
It's interesting though, and I see some similarities, even how sort of Clio's grown in the UK to how law firms grow. I mean, reputation is everything, and
Yeah.
The fact that your clients get such a good service that they recommend you to their peers is a great compliment to you and the team and James, of course. I see a question from Tajamal, which actually is really timely because I wanted to kind of pivot into a bit more of the technology aspect of how you run your firm and obviously how the firm runs in general. So I guess there's a question there for you, Shirley. Would it be possible for you to share a few of the IT tools and softwares you use within the firm to drive a
Yeah.
small firm forward?
Yes, certainly. Obviously we use Clio, and we use Net Documents for our document and email storage, which I'm happy to say integrates with Clio, makes my life a lot easier. We use two pieces of software. One's called Amicus and others called Legal, for which we do all of our AML checks on, but both are very, very good. We use Thomson Reuters HiQ for things like for creating data rooms for the clients, and also for doing all of our AI documents, you know, that the forms, the onboarding, things like engagement letters and all things like that. We use
Wow.
Microsoft Outlook, Word, Excel, and Teams. Sometimes we use Zooms for conference calls, but we can use Teams for conference calls. And then the usual things like DocuSign, Adobe, Acrobat, and we have something called Charlie HR, which we use for storing all of our HR details securely.
Wow, that's quite a tech stack. I love how
Yeah.
the firm, but day one, you've wanted to deliver your services to your clients via technology. Yeah, that's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah, interesting. And you mentioned it there, and I know we said at the start too. You use Clio as your case management system, some other cloud-based tools. Technology is clearly very important to how you run the business.
Yes.
How would you use Clio in comparison to how other team members use it?
I tend to use Clio in more of a supervisory role. So I set up all the new clients, the new matters. I help with the invoicing. I put in all the new contact information. I set up new users. I add in time if one of the lawyers has had one of those types of weeks and they're just too busy, they will send me their time, which is fine. So I use it in a slightly different way because also I run all the things like the work in progress reports and all the matter reports and things like that, which I think I have different rights on there to
Sure.
most of the other team members.
And I think really if I sort of kind of summarize that in between lines, like you use it in such a way that just allows the lawyers to focus on legal work,
Yes.
not administration work,
No,
for the most part.
Yeah, I try to do as much as I can to take anything I can off their shoulders so they can focus on and do their legal work. Sometimes things land on my desk that I'm not sure about, but to be honest, I'm pretty switched on, so I can normally cope with most stuff and get most stuff done. And if not, I just ask, and then they'll come back to me with the the answer to my question. Then I can crack on and just get it done for them.
Interesting. Why am I not surprised? So couple of questions there from the panelists again. So one from Andrea. Have you found, Shirley, that you need to revise your recruitment packages to attract a better caliber of candidates at a lawyer level and also for any admin team staff level? Good question.
We haven't, at the moment, we haven't revised our packages at all. From what I can remember, to be fair, the lawyers are paid as in their PQE, the amounts of experience they've got, and I'm really the only support team member, so it's just me. Everyone else is really legal. So but we get the same amount of holiday we had pre-lockdown, so everything's much the much, really.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Another question there from Michael. I know you kind of ran through your tech stack there. He was just curious, do you use an accounts package alongside Clio, or?
I think our finance manager uses Xero, but
Okay.
I have to be honest, I'm not sure what he does with it because it's not something I've got or have access to. I think he uses that. So
Sure. Perfect. And that's great. And for anyone on the call, I'm more than happy to go through it. Clio does have a few options for accounting integrations, depending on what you're looking for and what your bookkeeper is looking for, but we can run through that after. So let me jump here back into my own questions for a moment. You mentioned it a couple of times there. I was really curious, like what has your approach been for onboarding and training staff on all of this technology? What tips have you got for others that may be struggling, especially in a remote first world?
the first thing I do is I set everybody up on the new systems prior to them joining with us. And what then happens is they receive a welcome email which enables them to set their passwords, and then once they start with us, once they join, I then set up a time and a date with them, and I go through all of the training with them online on Microsoft Teams by a screen share, which is phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, it's just amazing that we can do this now. It still blows my mind when I think about it. I've also put together some sort of like little helpful training guides, which I send email across if they need it. But to be honest, I'm always on hand if anybody gets stuck, and sometimes they do. We know what it's like. You using new stuff. Sometimes you think, oh, I didn't make a note about that, or it's not working right, or whatever. So I'm always then on hand to help them should they need any further assistance or clarification.
Great. Thank you. There's a couple of more questions there. I guess the first one's actually probably aimed more towards myself than you, Shirley. So just
Okay.
from Michael, thank you for asking. With all the other services, it means that Clio are not able to be the one-stop shop that I was craving. Is this gap being filled with partnerships, or is Clio finding their own solution to cover all services? Really good question, Michael. I'm absolutely delighted to comment on it. Certainly our approach, and working with firms like Farha Legal and others, is we don't believe necessarily in a one-size-fits-all approach. We do have a huge ecosystem of integrations, which I believe my colleague Geraldine just shared in the chat. Depending on what you're looking for, you can connect various technologies to Clio. Of course, to the latter point, we're always looking to improve our own offering, and our roadmap is quite exciting. Love to maybe connect with you offline and explain some of the things we're working on and get your thoughts, and see if it would suit you. But we can take that off the webinar. Good, and I'm conscious of coming up to time quickly, so we're nearly finished. But I just want to highlight actually Andrea's question again, which is very good, and I think something Shirley you would have a lot of kind of subject matter expertise on. So, question for you, Shirley: what is your client onboarding process like? A lot of our admin team complain about the process and the amount of paperwork that is required and the length of time the process takes to be compliant.
Ours is quite simple because it's really all online. So I will set up, if it's, for example, a new client, I will set up a new client on Clio and a new matter. I then prepare all of the suite of engagement documents. That all then gets emailed out to the client and sent in DocuSign for them to sign. Once they've done that, I then do the AML checks online, and that's it, job done really. It can take anything from half an hour to the day. It just depends how quickly the clients turn the stuff around at the other end, to be honest, but it doesn't actually take that long.
I love that. And it's all driven through technology, and I see that nice printer in your background. It doesn't look like it gets much use, which is great.
It's got dust on it actually, so I hope
nobody
can. I hope nobody can see it.
So come slightly towards the end, and please do keep the questions coming. If we don't get to them live, myself and Shirley will follow up after the webinar.
Yes, sure.
But a bit of an open-ended question for you, Shirley. I'd love just in your own opinion, like, I mean, what do you think the next sort of decade will look like for a law firm office manager?
Oh, wow. I just think that we'll have more and more technology to make life a little bit easier. And for me, I can then think, I will then see myself as being able to support more people because the technology makes life so much easier. And I can just do so much more. I hate this saying, but I can do so much more with less now because I've got all my packages, and it just takes a lot of the burden away from me. I don't have to do paper filing anymore. It's all just goes internet documents. And I mean, life is just so much simpler now with the technology.
I love it. One of our customers in London, I really liked how the managing partner put it, with systems like Clio and other cloud technologies. It lets you increase caseload without increasing workload.
Yeah.
And that's what it is at the end of the day. I see a Q&A there, a question from Charlene, who I think is from our friends at Core Maxwell. So I'm not sure if all the attendees see the question, so I'll read it out. So instead of using DocuSign, there is an e-signature option built in within Clio to send it straight to them for your letters of engagement, etc. So absolutely, and that is actually a nice compliment to my point I was making to Michael's question, is there is e-signatures built into Clio. We also have the integrations if firms prefer DocuSign, or other systems. You can use Clio's API and integrations, but absolutely spot on. It is a feature included in your Clio account. So if there is any Clio customers online that weren't aware of that, we'll make sure we'll send the follow-ups. Well, Shirley, that went very quickly, that 30 minutes.
No, wow, it's flown by.
I do want to just highlight for the attendees here. So our next event is actually next week. It's our Making a Law Firm series. It's going to be titled Running Your Business with Courage and Confidence. So my colleague Geraldine, who some of you would have met on these webinars before, will be hosting it. It's the 5th installment, and it's geared towards getting the tools and techniques you need to overcome fear and find the courage to lead decisively and authentically. We'll share a link for that in the chat in a moment. But 11:31, Shirlee, an absolute compliment to your organizational skills that we didn't go too far over. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a joy. And as you've already mentioned, if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Excellent. So we'll follow up with everyone here today with some of the things we talked about. And obviously, Shirlee would love to connect, or myself would love to connect with you if you need to discuss anything in a bit more detail. But for now, everyone have a great day, and thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day, everybody.